Welcome to the Coffee Club, broadcasting live from New York with your host, Felix, and co-host, Dr. Marc. So let's have a cup of coffee and enjoy the show.
Felix, we're waiting.
What are we waiting for, Marc?
We're waiting for our friend.
There is no heaven.
Oh, you were sleeping.
There is no hell. There is only this world and its dark reflection. And we do not know in which of the two worlds we are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Sounded like you were going to say, good morning, Vietnam.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Coffee Club. I am your host, Felix.
And I'm his pain in the ass, Dr. Marc. I could say ass, can't I?
Of course you can.
I mean, it's a donkey, right?
Did you hear about that donkey and the zebra that they mated?
Is that like anything that was ordained by your church or something?
No.
Billy Goat or something?
No. It was it's not my church, by the way. But it was in the news. It was I don't know if it was a donkey or a jacket. What's the other thing? There's not a donkey. There's a horse. And what's the one in between?
A mule. A mule is an animal, you know.
Thank you, Dr. Marc there. We always appreciate getting a little fresh air. And
don't talk to me about fresh air after the things that you do in this room.
You just wait. I'll get back to you. But anyway, they say that the DNA of the two animals, the zebra and the mule.
Can we get down to today's topic? People want to know.
I'm talking.
People want to know.
This was the biggest thing on the internet. It went viral.
I'll give you viral.
It went viral. It went virus. I mean, it went crazy. You look at this little donkey with striped legs, and they don't know how.
Yes, I did see that.
See? Anyway.
Looks like it's wearing socks.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Coffee Club. And if you want to call in and join in the festivities, you can call us at 646-595-3275. And I also want to mention that our chat room is open for those who are less talkative.
Well, can I use the chat room if I really don't? I'm kind of shy around microphones. Can I use the chat room? Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Why not? I'll give you the chat room.
Okay. But folks, today's topic. Another sleepless night. We've all had them.
Wasn't that a movie?
No. Sleeping with the Enemy, Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh,
but not another sleepless night. But the point is, Dr. Felix, as you know, has been having a problem with prescription medications. In fact, it wasn't long ago. It was about 10 days ago or so that Dr. Felix actually fell asleep while broadcasting, and Dr. Don and I were talking about Noah and Scripture, and we had asked for Felix's opinion, and Felix was nowhere to be found. So we had to break away, and he had to be awakened by his wife, and that's when I first learned about his problem with his medications. That becomes a big problem. Especially as you get older. Many of us are taking prescription medications, and memories not being what they used to be. Sometimes we may not take a certain pill or think we didn't take it, so we wind up taking an extra one, and you pay the price. And usually the price is a sleepless night, but you still have to go to work the next day. So we want to hear from you. Have any of you had bouts of sleeplessness? I know my daughter, I always talk about my daughter in Ohio. My daughter in Ohio never gets a good night's sleep. For somebody so young, 35, I keep telling her she's pushing 40, but for somebody so young, she has problems falling asleep. And I keep telling her it's unfortunate because she's got 30 years before she really has to worry about that. I have problems falling asleep. There are times when I don't fall asleep until 5 in the morning. And I remember my dad, may he rest in peace, used to tell me he gets his best sleeps between 5 and 8:30 in the morning because that's when he usually falls asleep. But since I'm retired, unlike Felix, who has to get up to go to work, if I fall asleep at 5, I could wake up at 11 and feel rested. Okay, but I don't know about some of you.
Well, my first thing is I have no trouble falling asleep. My problem is I wake up in about 5 minutes, and after that, I can't go back to bed. I'll sleep. I'll fall asleep fast. I'm thinking the other way, I'm going to start dreaming. I'm having, all of a sudden, I wake up, something in my body triggers, and now I just jump up and sit up like a machine, like a robot. I jump out of bed, and
see, and then there are some people, I will say, look, I get up sometimes in the middle of the night too, let's face it. You know, we all get that call from nature. But I am fortunate enough to be able to fall right back asleep. Okay, but I know that my daughter is one of these people who, like Felix, will be getting up and then they toss and turn. They toss and turn for hours or they just never get back to sleep. I remember when I was still teaching, and I was teaching day and night school, there were times in night school when I would practically, especially during a test, when I wasn't doing any speaking, and the kids were taking a test, and I would sit there, and I would practically nod out, and I knew it was happening, and I would quickly have to shake myself back awake because I couldn't fall asleep in front of the class, and with Felix, we worry about, getting tired and falling asleep on your way to work, at work, on the phone with a client,
It's true. But again, everybody's talking about restless bed. Once I get up, I can't even lie down in bed. I am so restless, I wait past that point where I have to be active.
Can I teach our listeners a Yiddish word? It's called shtilkus. Felix can't sit still. He's got to be walking around. He's got to be doing something. He can't even sit down long enough to read an article or to punch something up in the computer.
Can't sit long enough to go to the bathroom.
Well, that's really a problem. You wind up leaving a trail so you could find your way back there.
Basically, when it gets bad, I have to be constantly on the move.
What's that? You have to be constipated?
That helps, actually. That's one thing I don't have to worry about. But I have to be constantly on the move. It's not that anybody's business. I guess it's some kind of a...
Hey, we're all friends here. Come on, Felix.
I would say it's...
We can talk about bodily functions here.
We're not talking about why I don't sleep, but it's basically some kind of a... excuse me, I guess a panic attack or in that mode, claustrophobia, a combination of, and
I get a panic attack every time I climb your stairs. I'm usually huffing and puffing by the time I knock on your door. I told you got to have them put a stair chair down there for me.
Yeah, you're having as a heart attack.
Well, that might be.
But anyway, it's very uncomfortable. Just to make a very short story, it all started with I was taking a certain medication and I stopped taking it by mistake. And then once I realized I stopped taking it by mistake, I went into withdrawal
symptoms.
Sorry.
He's not completely back with us, folks. You have to understand that.
And once I started getting those withdrawals, they were not manageable. And they compared to somebody going off heroin or cold turkey without any kind of a help from anybody. So that's that's what I had anyway. It's been very bad. You don't sleep. I'm already friends with the midnight shift at the CVS store, and when she sees me, she really waves hello because there aren't that many customers at that time in the morning, and I purchase whatever it is I want to purchase, and then.
I think it's the same thing with the Nassau County Police. They usually park themselves in Dunkin' Donuts, and you pass by, and they know what time it is by roughly what time you pass by the store.
Oh no, they all wave hello to me.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And they're still wondering what I'm doing. They probably start following me afterwards. What is this guy doing every morning? This morning I wound up getting up a little, doing a little later, and I was ready to go outside. And it says, "It's light out already." I said, "I can't walk outside if it's light out."
Well, explain why. That's because Felix walks around in his underwear. At night in the dark, it looks like he's wearing shorts, but during the day, you could tell he's wearing his boxers.
Yeah, my wife said to me yesterday, "You're leaving the house." I said, "No, I'm going out." She goes, "Well, you should put on your pants first." I said, "Oh, you're right." So I put on my boxer shorts and I went out.
You mean you were stark naked? Oh, my Lord. Too much information, Felix. Too much information.
I'm just waiting to see if you were awake and listening, that's all.
I'm not the one who has the problem right now, although I really have to say, there are times, I told this to Felix. My doctor told me, you're wasting your time if you try to go to sleep when you're not tired. They tell you you should go to bed the same time every night, get into a routine, wake up the same time. That's out the window. Okay? If you wait until you're tired, okay, I usually take my baby aspirin because I'm a senior citizen and got to regulate my heart. So I take my baby aspirin and I take my Requip for my restless leg. And hopefully, I hope that relaxes me enough so that I can fall asleep. God bless my pup, who's 15 years old. He wakes me up in about 3 hours because he wants to go out to the dog run. So I'll do that with him, and then I'll let him back in. He'll come into bed with me, and we go back to sleep for like another 2 hours. Then it's my turn to go to the bathroom. But by then, hopefully, I've already slept like 4 to 5 hours, and I decide how tired I am. Now, usually, and I know this is thrilling for our listeners, telling you about my morning. But if I get up about 6, 5:45, I'll watch a little news. Got to get my fix of Morning Joe. And yes, you're right, I know. And I'll make some breakfast. And usually after I eat breakfast, I tend to get very tired again. So I'll lay down at about 6:30, 7:30. And I'll wake up around 9:30. All right. And by then, I'm rested. It's a broken up sleep. But the bottom line is I sleep. My daughter and Felix, unfortunately, are not that fortunate. Am I right, Felix?
Right now, in the past, up till about 2-3 weeks ago, I was a good sleeper. I'd go to sleep. I'd sleep 9 hours every night, just about uninterrupted, except for maybe a pit stop once in a while. I would sleep right through. This is a complete, opposite what my body's used to. for being able to sleep. It's not sleeping at all. And I will tell you, it's no fun. Today I went to work because I did finally fall asleep this morning after I kept taking one more Xanax until I finally fell asleep. And at that point, once I fell asleep, I left a big sign on my door, "Do not wake up." And I woke up about 12:31. I went to work, realizing how really awake I was and how alert I was. I walked into work, never turned the lights on in the office to a pitch black, and I went to sleep in my office for a while. And then I finally got a phone call, and I turned the lights on, and it's very strange. It's no fun being on drugs. It's no fun not having control of all your, what should we put it?
Faculties.
All your faculties.
The problem is, this is happening to you, and you wish you could do something about it, but unfortunately, it becomes hit and miss, just like when a doctor prescribes medication for you. It depends how much you weigh, how tall you are, all these things that doctors have to know and pharmacologists have to know, and then they have to know which drugs interact poorly with other drugs. Usually the pharmacist knows that. Doctors don't usually. But if you tend to go to more than one doctor, that's why they always ask you what medications are you on, because just in case they're going to prescribe for you, they want to make sure that one medication doesn't counterbalance the other.
And I'm sure these days, all the computers and everything, you put in two drugs, if there is a problem with it, it'll start warning the doctor, hey, these two don't mix, don't prescribe.
Well, again, provided you go to the same pharmacy and they have a list of your medications. No,
if you go to the doctor, even if he has a list of medications and he adds one on, I'm sure there's a safety system telling him not to give this medication because it doesn't react well with the others.
Well, the funny thing is that that's not even the reason that I went on to computerized records. What?
Why don't you take that home? I always say.
What they found was that, many doctors prescribe similar tests, and insurance companies are going crazy paying for these tests. That's one thing. But the other thing is also that a lot of people would go to different pharmacies and present legitimate prescriptions from different doctors, and then they would take their medication and sell it. High school kids did that a lot. Kids are real savvy these days, so they want to cut back on that as well.
And once again, our phone number is 646-595-3275. We are looking for callers. We're looking for people for the chat room.
We're basically looking for anybody.
In other words, we're not proud.
No, we're begging. Felix, I seem to have run out of coffee. Would you like some tea? I know that's a dirty word on the show, but...
Yes, I would love to have a cup of tea.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I am now trying to get a hold of some of our callers who promised to call today. Yeah, they don't seem to want to call in. And I'm being very observant. I'm watching the board, making sure that we don't miss a phone call or anything, because you call in and you're picked up. I'm sure callers get insulted. And by the way, just so you know, we have the capability of taking multiple calls. So if you're listening to us to talk to another person, and you want to chime in. You can call in. You'll be put on hold, and when we're ready, we'll take you in, and you can join the conversation. It's a unique way of doing things. This way we can have a conference call, individuals giving their opinions. Or in this case, only Dr. Marc and myself giving our opinions, which is going to be boring after a while if somebody doesn't call in. Our usual schedule is if we don't get any call-ins, what we'll do is we'll just terminate the show after an hour. And if we start getting call-ins, then the show lasts up to 2 hours. But as of right now, I really don't see, I do not see any call-ins. That doesn't really upset me too much because only maybe 1% or less of our listeners are actually live listeners. And the rest of our calls, not calls, but listeners are usually podcast listeners who listen to our show at their convenience. But still, it's nice to get a live call once in a while. And if you're out there and you feel like you want to call, we don't have to talk about today's subject. We will switch and discuss anything that you would like to the audience, because actually the show is for the audience. We normally try to just pick out a topic and hope people will catch on and call on and talk about that topic. But if you decide that you find another topic is more interesting or something that's bothering you and you want to talk about, please do. We'll always accept a new topic, and we love opinions. You don't have to agree with us to call. As a matter of fact, if you disagree, the more you disagree with Dr. Marc and his opinions, the better it is. It's better for the show, and it's better for Dr. Marc, because then he gets stimulated. He's a progressive, Democrat, liberal, I don't know what you want to call him, but he's to the left. I guess he's a socialist, but he's to the left. He's definitely to the left. And so myself, I would think that I am a Democrat, leaning towards the left a little bit. I'm a little probably more to the left when it comes to social issues and more to the right when it comes to financial issues. But I would still think that I'm a Democrat, and I'm not saying I'm proud of it anymore, but I'll just say I'm a Democrat. And what else did I want to talk to you about? I'm waiting for this. I said we are waiting for some callers, and normally when I get bored like this, I'll bring up some stuff. Baseball season was over. And it's baseball is doing the over in the past. To the other sports involved these days. And I think baseball is basically in the backyard more and more. I don't really see baseball ever being a sport like it was. I don't think it's a national sport anymore. I'm thinking maybe football's more of the national sport of the country now. If you want to chime in on that also, you could call in on that. That could be another title. It could be something else we could be talking about. And also, we always enjoy talking about the news. We'll talk about the religion. As you may know, Dr. Marc is quite knowledgeable about the Bible and the history of religion. And I myself, I am an esoterical minister, but I am less knowledgeable on the church and the books, different books related to it. They're really not too good with the Bible, the Old Testament or the New Testament. But what I am good at is telling that what comes out of the heart is the most important thing. And charity does not mean giving money to the church. Charity means really giving money to somebody who needs the money. I know, most churches keep quite a bit of your donation that you make for different charities for their own expenses. I would take that same money and not give it to the church and give it directly to the charity of your choice. To me, that makes more sense, and I think the money goes to the right direction. I see that Dr. Marc came in and he has made me a wonderful cup of hot, relaxing tea since I cannot sleep.
Well, don't say it's so wonderful until you taste it. I don't know.
What I'm doing is I'm trying to not have coffee at night.
Well, I hope our listeners, the one or two that there are, read the blurb that I put into tonight's show where it said, make sure your coffee is decaffeinated, because we want to make sure that you are not a member of the Sleepless Coffee Club. How's the tea, by the way?
Feels very good. Again, remind everybody, our phone number is 646-595-3275. We had some planned calls for tonight, and I don't understand what happened. It's a little lost.
Well, while Felix is making his cell phone to one of our few listeners, just to review, I'm sure most of you have had those days where you sometimes attempt to go to sleep, and then that alarm rings in the morning, and you say, I never had any sleep. You wake up and you go through the motions for most of the day. If you're fortunate enough to be driving yourself to work, that's one thing. But if you have to put up, as my sister does, with the people on the New York City transit system, where you're packed in like sardines, and with the summer months coming up, I don't have to tell you what some of those cattle cars smell like, okay? And then you come into an office, and you have to drag yourself through at least 8 hours worth of work. I know that industry, people are so worried for their jobs that many people, instead of starting at 9 o'clock, many people get in around 8. I know, speaking for my sister, I realize that she gets in sometimes around the time that the sun sets. She'll go to bed, wake up. Let me clarify that. Most of you who are still working put in a hard day. Okay, you would think that by the time evening rolls around, you would be tired enough to fall asleep. So why is it that people have such a problem getting to sleep and have sleepless nights? Why is it that Americans rely so heavily on prescription medication to fall asleep? Okay, I remember after my botched surgery 10 years ago, the neurologist put me on very mild sleeping pill. Well, actually, at first he put me on Ambien, and I found I was walking in my sleep. Then he put me on another medication, also very mild, much milder than Ambien. And it was working for a while, but after taking it for a certain number of years, my body developed a tolerance to it, much like Felix with his medication. And he prescribed something else which worked for a while. Now I find I'm taking melatonin, which is basically over the counter. You don't need a prescription for it. I'm taking 1 milligram. I can take up to 5 pills if I so desire, but usually I take 1. Okay. But I have learned to wait until I'm tired before I try to go to bed. I know my wife is always yelling from upstairs, why don't you shut the TV and go to sleep? Or why don't you shut the computer? But the bottom line is, and this is exactly what I say to her, if I'm not tired, I'm not going to try to go to sleep because I'm going to be up in an hour, which is the case. So, as I said, I've given you my family's history. My dad used to have problems sleeping, okay? Felix has gone through his litany of problems. Let's hear from you, okay?
And I also want to mention to you that Dr. Marc uses his sleeping problems for another habit of his that he has, gluttony. He enjoys walking around in his sleep and eating.
Well, now you're quoting my wife. I told her that until she sets up a camera, there's no real proof that I am doing this. However, I will say that if I am eating the leftovers that are in the refrigerator, why am I not heavier than I am? Now listen, I'll be the first to say that I am not thin by any stretch of the imagination. I think I have almost come down to the level of being overweight as opposed to being. So if I am eating the kind, where are those pounds going? I can't exercise because of diabetic neuropathy and see. Okay, I don't exercise at all, which is my problem, and I admit to that. If I was able to exercise, maybe I wouldn't even have a problem falling asleep, which is another remedy. A combination of diet and exercise might make it easier for me to sleep. But the bottom line is, I get accused of everything in my house. If food is missing, all the heads turn to me. Like all roads lead to Rome, okay, everyone's stare in my home leads to me when it comes to food.
Well, if there's such a thing as circumstantial evidence, I believe you'd be convicted every time. At your house, on a typical night, there's nobody home except your wife and your vegan son.
You've been talking to my wife, huh?
So if you take your vegan son, and I'm sure he's not stealing any steaks or having midnight snacks of steak, and your wife doesn't eat the steaks.
I'm crossing you off my Christmas list, Felix. I just want you to know this.
Then I think your dog has learned a way of opening the refrigerator door and eating and taking his meal. This won't be the first time where people's animals are able to open the refrigerator.
No. The dog. I'll be the first to say the dog sleeps with me. He has an alibi.
Yeah, but how do you know? You may be walking with him to the.
Well, it's true. I could be cutting up the steak and, 1 piece for him, 2 for me. 2 pieces for him, 3 for me,
Yeah, you never know. Hey, listen, if nobody wants to call in about sleeping, then I'm going to change the topic. I'm going to put everybody else to sleep.
No, you're going to fall asleep?
No, what I said was, if people are not going to call in to discuss the topics of the day, which is sleeping, then I will change the topic and make our audience fall asleep instead.
Well, I have news for you. I would hate. I can't even say rare occasion because it's becoming more often than not. But on occasions when no one calls up, Felix and I just about put on a show that lasts between a half hour and 45 minutes. If we're lucky, we could stretch it to an hour. But the bottom line is, I'm basically talked out.
The other day, we actually lasted for an hour, an hour and a half or something without a caller?
About an hour and 15 to 20 minutes until you finally got a call from one of our listeners.
Did we get a call at all that night?
Wasn't...
that was the second show.
That was the second show, yes. But we were... What was the first show? Another boring Friday night.
Oh, my favorite. You know what? With a title like that, and all the nice things we say about our audience.
Hey, listen, if we're the only thing they have to listen to on a Friday night, I don't know. Not saying very much.
We call ourselves fools, and we call our audience pathetic, but we get the best rating of...
Well, wait, then we sound like Imus or Howard Stern. They're always berating their audience.
But that's not our style, but it happens to do. We probably get the most listeners. The nastier we get, the more listeners we get.
Well, it's true. Usually Felix and I berate each other. In fact, I was talking to my friend in Florida who happened to say to me, he says,
Wait, I have a phone call.
It may be your doctor.
Hello? Hey, it's Felix. How are you? Well, my wife said that...
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Doctor is actually calling Felix back to find out exactly what's going on with him. Okay? I won't say he's making a house call, but he actually called back. But as I was saying, my friend in Florida happened to say that Felix and I had ourselves one good argument going, back and forth, Friday night, whether Felix was playing devil's advocate with me, I don't know. It could have been the fact that, as I said, he wasn't sleeping very much. But the fact remains that we do sometimes get on each other's case and try wherever possible to make the show more interesting for you, the listener. We encourage you to call in. I really don't know what to say. We're going on about 35 minutes right now, and as I said, Felix held the microphone for a while. I held the microphone for a while. It would be nice if we could hear from you, 646-595-3275. Give us a call. Let us know how you get to sleep. What do you do? Some people read. Some people watch boring television. I remember telling my nurse practitioner that I have the King James Bible on CD, and I'm almost finished with it. I've actually gone through the Old Testament. Now I'm in the New Testament with only a couple of discs left, and she couldn't understand why that didn't put me to sleep. I might actually tend to agree with her, but sometimes I read. Most of the time I'm watching television or I'm on the computer or a combination thereof. Okay? I've become a very skilled solitaire player. And as I said, sometimes at night I'm busy and I DVR many of the shows that I enjoy watching, my wife and I, so I will watch it, at a later date. And then there were movies. So, and I tend to, watch it until I get tired, and then I go to sleep. What I do find, though, is when something like that happens, and I go to bed like at 3, and I wake up or I get out of bed at 5 or 5:30 after having a very broken sleep, I'm so tired for the rest of the day. I could be watching something on TV, and it may take me 3 times the amount of time to watch a 1-hour show, a good 2 to 3 hours, because invariably I'm falling asleep in the middle. I watch just so much, and I just can't keep my eyes open anymore. So, I mean, you could imagine if I was working, if I had a work schedule, okay, if I was still teaching classes or mentoring new teachers, these people would look at me in the back of the room with my head back, and I would be snoring away. So, that's no solution either. So it would be nice if we heard from some of you, what you enjoy doing to either stay awake or fall asleep. It is a big problem. How many of you take prescription medication? Have you ever mixed up the prescription medication? I know there are times in the morning when I know I have to take 1 pill after I eat, 30 minutes after I eat, but then there's another pill that I have to take 30 minutes before I eat. Then there are other vitamin supplements that I take. Okay? It becomes a very cumbersome activity. And I'm sure that there are many of you who are 60 and above who either have blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, extra vitamins that you take, and it's very easy to mistake all that stuff. So really, we'd like to know exactly what you experience. And you'll excuse me, but I am going to take a 5-minute break, and I will be back momentarily. No control over nature, and Felix is on the phone with his doctor, so he can't come here to keep up the conversation, but I will repeat that our number here is 646-595-3275, and I will be back in 5 short minutes. Thank you.
Dr. Marc, are we still on the air, or do we...
No. I just told the audience that I was taking a 5-minute breather because I just ran out of things to say. And, in fact, that was about 2 minutes ago. So you want to continue? That's fine. But from the looks of things, I don't think we're going to get any callers tonight.
See, first thing is...
By the way, what did your doctor say?
First of all, Dr. Marc...
Our audience wants to know.
You have to learn how to use a board. Because once you have nothing to say, then those are the times when we have to get into some of our things, like...
Yeah, but they only say phone. They don't...
Toilet flush. Around my toilet flush. And then my favorite one is after listening to the doctor.
The raspberry, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, that was the oh yeah.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh,
is that
yeah,
baby?
No, that's the young lady saying oh yeah. And by the way, I want everybody to understand that raspberry is not a raspberry, but it is a true human organ reacting. So everybody understands.
Usually Felix, not me.
We don't use fake sound effects. Whatever you hear is right out of our heart, the real.
Well, what did the doctor say?
The doctor said if I can't sleep, go to the hospital. They'll put me to sleep.
Yeah, what good is that going to do you? Well, you know something, by the time you finish with all the paperwork, you probably would fall asleep.
He just said basically tell them exactly what's going on. If you're having trouble sleeping, you haven't slept for a couple of days. And he said the way psychiatrists of these days and specialists are so hard to see that it's almost worth it to go to the emergency room and see a specialist there because there they almost have no choice. They have to see you.
But wasn't that the whole point of Obamacare? To register for insurance so people wouldn't use emergency rooms as their primary care doctor?
No, this is for specialists, but as I've previously mentioned, Dr. Marc, Obamacare is a good idea, implemented and written poorly. And maybe, like you said, we'll give it a few years, and it will improve, and people will actually be able to get back on the workforce and have insurance and all that. But right now, it would appear for every person who gets Obamacare, there's at least one more who's losing his insurance. A lot of the major retailers were announcing it, that they're going strictly part-time, no more medical help.
Dr. Felix. That would be the Right Reverend Dr. Felix.
No, it would be it is Dr. Felix.
Yes, the divinity degree. Yes, I know.
Yeah. Yep.
But think back. I think some of your problems stemmed also from the fact that you were against affordable health care and you were having problems getting on a plan, and then when you got on a plan, you found that your old plan, which no longer existed, was a better plan than the one you have now. So think about all these things. I mean, it might be working against you as far as trying to relax in the evening. These are other problems.
That's true. I mean, I got a good Obamacare plan with a small deductible and everything else. But I had all that before. The only thing that I gained is if I have a baby, there'll be no cost. It'll be no cost to me.
Really?
Yeah.
You know how much savings that would have been way back in the day when we were all having families?
Yeah. Or also I can go to the gym for free. That's given to everybody. Very good for your health. But if you're making $20,000 a year, Obamacare is too expensive for you to have.
And I understand you also have another problem. Someone coming to stay for a few months.
Oh, yes. My wife is bringing a friend who is going to be staying with us while she's having an addition built on her.
No, she's not.
No, her friend is having an addition built, or her daughter is having an addition built. So my wife said my wife's friend could live there. And that's going to be about 5-6 months, I guess. We're going to have a guest here. And, I don't approve of it. I didn't approve of it, but...
Felix, you would have the best of both worlds. You'd be sleeping in the middle and have two charming women on either side of you.
I'd rather be gay.
Don't say that. That is a sore spot.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I apologize. I'd rather be a hermit.
Crab. A hermit crab.
No, I don't think it's a good idea. And our apartment is tight, and she also wants to bring 3 of her cats, which would mean it would be 4 cats in this house, which will probably be at least 3 to 4 litter boxes, which means I'm not cleaning them all. And hopefully she does clean them. And
well, I mean, when the bathrooms get stopped up from the 2 women using them, you could always use a litter box.
That's true. What I also told her is the one litter box. There's one litter box that's assigned to me, and nobody else is allowed to use it.
You see, I happened to bring that up to Felix just over dinner tonight, and I mentioned it to him, I think a few days ago. That's adding an extreme amount of stress to his life, and he's not happy with the decision. He really was not consulted in detail, made aware of certain stipulations, and this is all being done, as they say, against medical advice. Well, this is against husbandly advice, and is just talking his wife out of it. So
now, there's they always say that when maybe sometimes women are more emotional than logical, and men are more logical than emotional. Now, my wife's idea of trying to convince me as to what the purpose of this arrangement would, what the advantage would be, is a financial advantage. That for 6 months we would have additional revenue to help pay to an apartment, which we didn't want to stay in for another year because it's too expensive, but now it would make it more affordable for the stayers to stay.
It's your own personal Affordable Care Act.
Exactly. And I asked my wife that she's there for 6 months, what would happen after 6 months when she leaves? And her answer was, take all the extra money you got for the first 6 months from your tenant and use it for the rent for the next 6 months.
And if that makes any sense to anybody out there, please let us know.
Yes. But anyway, that's enough of wife bashing, because I do understand some of the relatives do listen to the show. So, we're just kidding.
I don't think you have to worry. But it's obvious. I think we are going to wrap it up just about, folks, because we've been on the air for over 45 minutes. I think we started, actually even longer, because I remember you signing on at about 4 to 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. So we've actually been on the air for about an hour.
Now, before we get off the air, it's time again for me to say we started talking last show about the internet and ordination of priests, or I should say priests. They're not priests. Clergy, people being ordained so they can marry their family. So, or they can make. Some of them actually opened up. What do you call it? Not a clerk, a business. Where they do weddings. I don't know if you know in Seinfeld, the guy Richard. What's his name?
Kramer. Kramer was the character, but
Kramer.
I don't remember his real name. Richard something.
But the actual original, the real Kramer, which the show is based upon, has a booming business where he has a tour bus, and he takes people around and shows all the important sites and talks about the show and stuff like that. And he also is an ordained minister of the ULC, Universal Life Church. I'm not sure which one. And he performs a lot of weddings.
Well, did you tell some of our listeners that you're actually going to be going to the Brooklyn House of Detention and do some ministry work of your own?
Well, we'll see about that. It's a possibility.
Goes with the parking permit.
Yep. Well, I'm still waiting for the parking permit.
That goes our mode of transportation, our cattle.
Yeah.
They don't even stop for us. We have to literally jump on.
But anyway, so you've got, so you got people like him, and like I mentioned, I believe, Conan O'Brien, and all those different people join, and not seriously, they've gotten different titles of, that might be a little bit funny, and in reality, I believe in probably 47, 48 states, it's perfectly legal to perform a wedding. And there are a couple of states where it's not. There are some counties and cities where it's not. But long term, it is, in the long run, it is pretty legitimate. And it's been around for a long time. As I said, I think one of the churches has just by itself, is over 20 million ministers. And to join minister, you pay a minimal fee of $35, and it's good for life. And then how they make their money, they sell other stuff. They sell clothing and marriage certificates and all different things involved in, conducting a ministry. And then I believe in 2011, a new ministry opened for the ULC. They seem to be all ULC. And this was called, ULC headquarters, Universal Life Church headquarters, and they're based in Florida. And what they've done is try to legitimize the Universal Life Church name by making it faith-based. And they require everybody to be a Christian before they can join. And then you can become I guess whatever you want to become. Then you can become a reverend, an independent Catholic priest, and other various names. But again, the whole idea is, whereas who you become a preacher, who are you preaching to? So the leader of this church or group of the ULC headquarters started a radio program and it was very, very innovative. And what he told me was, because I did join it, and he said, now that I'm broadcasting the show, the listeners who listen to my show are my sheep, and I am the shepherd. They are my flock, and I'm the shepherd. They follow me, and because of that, he tells me I'm not qualified to start my own church, tax exempt, and I can have my own flock, and I'll have my own, basically church. But the only catch was that I have to become a bishop in the church, and you have to be very well qualified to become a bishop. I think my qualifications to become a bishop was $10. And
gee, what is it to become a pope?
Pope is usually just another title. It doesn't mean much, unfortunately. And then after I paid my $10, for a few more dollars, he will have some papers for you that you can fill out and you can put it to the state to actually become tax-exempt state and tax-exempt for the federal government. And basically, you are now a church or whatever you want to call yourself. And I am the bishop in charge of that particular.
Felix, I think you're solving our audience's problem of
sleep. Boredom.
Exactly. You're boring them to
I'm
death.
boring them to sleep.
You're boring them to death.
That's the point. Wasn't I supposed to be doing that? But anyway, so I could have become a bishop and had my own church. I would have been a coffee club. I don't know, or something or other. But that really didn't work out because I think it takes more than $10 in a degree.
Not my headphones.
And a degree to make you a legitimate, priest. Not that legally you are legitimate. Let me rephrase that. But I'd like to know if there's anybody that any other religion, Main Street religion that actually recognizes the ULC headquarters, or any of their other, I guess that's not a spin-off, but any of the original ULCs.
I don't think most of the other religions even know, except for now, what the ULC is. You have just educated our audience as to what the heck the ULC is.
Well, like I said, there were millions and millions of ordained ministers, so it's not it's in the past has been a big joke. And now,
they could get away like this guy Cliven Bundy. They could refuse to pay taxes because
they don't have to pay taxes.
They are a religious institution.
No, they are. No, they're tax exempt. They've won the cases in court. No, they are definitely tax exempt. There's no.
However, I would not what's the word? I certainly would not suggest that any of you try this at home. Felix has, and he's currently under investigation by the IRS. Constantly trying to tell them that he has a flock and a following, and they just don't seem to believe him.
Yeah. But anyway, they keep telling me the flock of sheep is just not a tax exemption at all. No, the point is though.
But don't they go back?
We follow you wherever you go.
Exactly.
Well, I know the whole point is though, the ULC in the past has been a means of, if you want to marry somebody, if you want to have a title, it sounds cool, you want to be ordained a Jedi or a witch, whatever you want, you get ordained. It's very harmless, and a lot of actually, these organizations do donate money to good causes, and there are a lot of very good people who were not privileged enough to become ministers, who actually go and do good deeds, and there are others who just want to have the title. And,
in the Wizard of Oz, they call them good deed doers.
But then you've got, to me, when you go into the ULC headquarters, I see that part of it is gone. The good part of it is gone. They claim that they are strictly Christian organization, and the difference is now, when you join them, it's a one-time fee to be ordained, $35, I believe, like everybody else. But then they're going to follow you up with yearly fees and charges, and it becomes very expensive. And most of the people who join these organizations are poor, and to have them keep paying fees and to have them, keep their dreams going, that don't really, you're dreaming stuff that doesn't exist. You want to become an ordained minister? It's real easy. It's a one-time $35 fee forever. You don't have to keep paying money every year to renew it. None of that stuff. If you want to know what, go on the internet and just say, I want to be ordained. There are plenty of people who will ordain you that are all just as legal or illegal as the ULC headquarters, except they're a lot cheaper. And do I have a personal grudge against the ULC headquarters? Absolutely do. But I still think that I'm being quite fair the way I'm talking about them. If you look at their Better Business Bureau rating, they're known for not returning people's money when people request it, and they really don't care about anybody, and that's going to be proven by their leader, who I think is quite questionable with his background. And I'm not saying anything he's doing anything or has done anything illegal. All I'm saying is, I believe he worked for the ULC in the past, and he got fired from one of the other branches, and he's done that. And I don't believe he has any kind of background in ministry or anything else. Again, only my opinion. What he did before he was started a ULC, he had a construction company. And before that, I guess you'll have to go just do a background check on him, because I don't want to say anything bad or good either way. Anyway, now that I've bored you enough, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm ready to go to sleep. I think I've done very well in putting myself to sleep. So thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. And for myself and our sleeping Dr. Marc, who was taking over for me today and taking a nap during the show, I bid you all farewell. Hope you enjoyed the show. And one other thing I did want to say, it's not the dogs tonight. The chickens want to eat. And what happens when the chickens want to eat, they wake up the dogs. Which means it's time for everybody to say farewell. Good night. Thank you for listening. It was a real pleasure having you tonight. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you again.